Getting married has made you, I think, along like $200,000, something like that.
Yeah.
Elaborate on it.
Best business decision ever.
Welcome back to another episode of Keys of Currency, where we interview high-level entrepreneurs doing high-level things. Today, I got a very special guest. This guy is a high-level entrepreneur doing special things. He has a cleaning business. He's in real estate. He does Airbnb. I'm excited to do this interview because we get to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit, ask some questions, get some details, and get to know this person. So without further ado, please help me welcome Logan. How do I say your last name, bro?
Manzanares.
There we go. So Logan, man, welcome to the show, bro.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and just appreciate you asking me.
Yes, sir. So first thing I want to ask you, man, is what got you into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I got into entrepreneurship on accident. I was a personal trainer, and I had been at the gym I worked for about 2.5 years, and I got to this point where I just was tired of my boss, the guy who owned the gym, was just giving me like the cold shoulder on how I train my clients, right? So this was like 2013, and this was before like powerlifting and strength training and Olympic lifting. All that stuff was really big inside the fitness centers. They had their own little section of the fitness industry, like their own gym. Mm-hmm. But inside like the main commercial gyms, like you'd go to like 24/7 Fitness or Lifetime Fitnesses, like there was not any strength training areas like there is now. And so I was kind of the black sheep of all the trainers. And so my clients like to deadlift. They like to like lift heavy weights. And my boss didn't like it. The other trainers didn't like it. And so I was just looking for an environment that I could actually train my clients in that would give them value, but also I didn't feel like I was getting looked at, with that nasty look in your eye.
Yeah.
Right? And so at the place I lived, there was no other gyms outside of the big fitness centers, outside of CrossFits. Right, and I wasn't gonna do CrossFit, and I really wanted to work for somebody else, but there was nobody who had a strength training facility. Mm-hmm. So I did what any naive 25-year-old kid did: is I started my own gym.
Oh wow! So what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was funny because I can look back on it and think that once I made the decision and I found the place that I was gonna go rent out, I was like, I'm gonna be successful. Right? I was like, I'm gonna crush this. Like I know I'm gonna do really good. And if I would have known what I know now back then, I would not have started. To be completely honest with you, like I was so naive, I was so oblivious. Justin, I didn't have a marketing plan. I didn't have a sales process. I knew, or I thought I knew, how to train clients, and that's about all I knew how to do. And so once I decided to leave, and I told my current clients that I was leaving, half of them came with me, half of them stayed, and I was like, oh, shit. What do I do to get new clients? And I hadn't even thought about that. So for the first couple of years, I just really focused on the current clients I had and tried to develop my relationship with them even more and make sure they didn't leave me, because if they left me, then I would have no business, because I had no channel to bring new clients in.
And what year was this that you started that business?
I started in 2013.
2013. So.
Yeah.
You're almost 9 years into the entrepreneurship then.
Yep.
Wow. So I think the biggest takeaway on that, though, is like a lot of people won't even get past go when they have those type of dreams and aspirations, right?
Yep.
You took action.
Yeah.
You went out there and you said, I'm going to go out here, whether I fail or not, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
So what kind of lessons did you learn opening that first business?
I learned all the lessons, right? It was, as much as I say that it was a struggle for probably the first 3.5 years. So it was like 2017 until I finally got some traction. I learned all the lessons that I needed to learn, right? And I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody kind of guiding me. I never had anybody in my family who was in entrepreneurship. So it was me just learning by doing, and by doing a lot of things wrong, and by testing. And it's not necessarily the way I would recommend, but that was just my path, right? Yeah. So I learned all the lessons. I learned that if you build it, right, they will not come. You actually need a system and a process to have them come to the door.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I still remember this moment where I was, maybe a year or two in, and I was sitting there after I had had this gal who just walked in to the gym, and I tried to sell her on the gym, and she didn't buy. I just thought to myself, I was like, man, if I could just have clients from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day, I would be so happy, right? Like that's where I was in my life. I wanted to train clients, right? I was a trainer. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to train people, and I didn't have that skill. And so as I eventually got that skill, I looked back on it, I was like, then I had all these clients, like, I don't want to train anymore, right? Now I want to teach somebody else how to train.
Right.
And so I think ultimately...
Sorry, guys, for that little intervention. We had some loud music in the background, so we're going to pick up where we left off. So, Logan, man, what kind of lessons did you learn from starting your first business?
Yeah, I think I learned all the lessons, right? I learned that you need a marketing sales system, you need your marketing and sales system, you also need fulfillment, and you think you're good at fulfillment until you figure out your marketing and sales, and you realize that you then have a fulfillment issue as well, because you become the fulfillment and you have all these people. You need to learn how to hire people, how to scale. So it took me 3.5 years to really figure out that it wasn't just about having a product, right? That's where I was. And when I started my gym, I was like, okay, I'm a personal trainer. I'm good at personal training. But I failed to realize that to be good at business, it was more than just having the fulfillment, just having the product itself.
Yeah. So when you got into this, like when you started your first business, you basically learned how to run a business through like trial and fire then.
Yeah.
Through opening that first business, right?
Yep. I had no mentor. I didn't read books. I didn't do anything. Like I was just trying to figure it out, right? Just very, very oblivious. Much different than I do business now.
Gotcha. So where did that lead you? So after you started that first business, you learned all those lessons. Like what was the next step after that?
Yeah, it was probably just out of like struggle and desperation, and like I finally came to my senses. Like, okay, somebody probably knows how to do this, right? So I got over myself thinking that I knew everything, which I clearly didn't, based on my results. And so I started looking for coaching, looking for mentorship, looking for help. And again, at that time, it was like 2016 is when it really started. I ended up finding Russell Brunson and Robert Kiyosaki. And from there, I learned a little bit more about the marketing standpoint from Russell Brunson, right? He's the one who created ClickFunnels. I ended up buying my first course. Like the first course I ever bought was like $1,000 course. And I remember I didn't have much money, so he offered PayPal financing for 6 months. So I literally put that $1,000 course on a PayPal financing and paid like $183 a month just because I didn't have that much money at the time. And I learned at least the foundations of marketing. Like, oh, marketing and a sales funnel, and like there's actually a process to actually get people into my gym. Well, it wasn't quite enough for me to like get any real traction, and so I ran a couple of Facebook ads. I did a couple things, but never really had any success. Kind of went away from it. So I was like, okay, I need to find someone more specific to the gym industry. And so at that time, the big player in the game was Bedros Keuilian, who he had started a franchise called FitBody.
Okay.
And so I was like, searched for as much of his free stuff as I possibly could online. And then he had a couple like courses that were a couple $100 I bought, like some of his cheaper stuff. And I was like probably a week or two away from like investing in his mastermind. So he had a mastermind called the 7-Figure Mastermind, right? And that's where like all the gym owners who apparently made 7 figures, like that's the mentorship that they joined. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like take the next level or take the next step and join this mastermind. And then I was on Facebook in between training sessions, and I came across this ad where this other gym guru who I'd never heard of before pitched me that he could fill my gym up in 30 days. And I was like, huh.
That was the hook right there. You're like,
Yeah, and he said for free. And I was like, very interested. And so what I did is I clicked on the ad and I started going over more than, through some of the testimonials and through the other gym owners who had done the program. And I was like, dang, this thing actually seems like legit. And so I ended up getting on a call with someone on his team, and they qualified me. They asked me questions about my gym, and I was like, man, I'm not sure if I even qualify for this. And I think you might qualify for it. And so then they scheduled me a call 2 days later. It was like a Saturday morning with this guy named Alex, right? So I'm sitting there on the floor of my girlfriend, she's not my wife, her living room, or excuse me, her bedroom floor, and this guy's telling me about this program called Gym Launch, and telling me about how he could fill my gym in 30 days, and kind of told me a little about the offer, and I was just like, got so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like all the learning, all the things I learned before, like this is it. Like I knew, like at that moment, like this is the program. And we got through everything. And he's like, all right, are you ready for the price? I was like, sure. He's like, it's $10K. And my heart just sank. Because I literally, like, I had $10,000, but it was under my pillow in a Crown Royal bag. And I was like so scared to leave. Like this was a $10,000 that I had saved up, and I had actually used $10,000 to start my gym up, and I had like replenished it. And I just kept it on my pillow. It was like it was my safe money, right? It was my last money, and I sat there for probably a minute, legit a minute. Alex didn't say anything, and I said two words that like changed my life forever. I said, fuck it, let's do it. And there it was, right? And that was kind of that moment. And you know, if anybody who doesn't know, like it was Alex Hermosi, who now is big all over the place. But in 72 hours, I had set up the whole system. I had got my Facebook ads running, and by the end of that week, I had sold, I think, 36 people at $500 a pop, and made like 18 grand my first week. And over that first month, I ended up selling 105 people and made over 50 grand.
So that was life-changing for you.
Just
so what
changed my
was
life.
his program? Was that more of like a course or a mentorship? What exactly was it?
Yeah, so it was an end-to-end marketing and sales and fulfillment system to fill your gym in 30 days. And so it was everything from how to set up your ClickFunnels to set up your Facebook ads to once they actually opt in, how do you get them into your gym, and then the sales process when they get into the gym, like what do you say to them, to the contracts, to like once they actually sign up, like here's the program that they sign up for, and here's the fulfillment side, and then how do you actually sign these people up as like long-term clients after that, because it was a duration-based program. It was a 6-week program, right? Yeah, so it was wild, man. It was a wild ride, and as much as I love to share like the success and the progress we made that first month, and then after that, because we had to fulfill, so it was probably actually like 3 months of actual like fulfillment on that very first challenge that we did. Mm-hmm. It was the hardest time of my entire life. It was I grew the most. I woke up almost every single day so nervous, so scared, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was just going on faith and belief on this guy named Alex. I was like, I just trusted what he said, because I didn't know the program worked. I didn't know if the clients were actually going to get the results that I was promising them. I didn't have the experience. Hadn't ever like fulfilled the program. I didn't know all these people were going to actually stay on afterwards. And so for the first 90 days, I was uncomfortable every single day. There were so many days I wanted to quit, but I was pot committed. I couldn't. Like my back was against the wall, but I wanted to. But that was like one of the greatest times of my life, because it forced me to grow. It forced me to become an entrepreneur. It forced me to learn the skill sets of sales and marketing, and then like in order to do that many people, like I had to grow my team as well, and I had to like delegate and teach them things. And while it was hard, it accelerated my entrepreneur skills really, really fast.
Oh, big time, dude.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to touch on, right? Is like so many entrepreneurs get into business just trying to wing it.
Yeah.
Right? They try to figure out themselves, and it's such the wrong way to go about any type of business.
Yeah.
The best thing that you can do is invest into a mentor.
Yeah.
Right? You want to find somebody that has proven concepts, proven capability, somebody that can show you A to Z how to take your business idea, your business niche up and running.
Yep.
Because a lot of people end up going back to a W-2 because they're trying to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
But you did the smart thing by investing in a program and in yourself, really. And you found Alex, and you said, "Listen, here's the money.
Yeah.
Teach me what to do," and it changed your life.
Yeah.
I think it's a very important thing to touch on. So, with the gym business, right? What did you end up doing with that business? You still got the business today?
No, so we literally just sold at the beginning of this year.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but yeah, we had it for 8 or 9 years, and we made lots of iterations, lots of changes along the way. But I call that the business that's like taught me it taught me business. Like that business taught me business, right? Going back on it, would I ever started a gym again? Absolutely not. Knowing what I know now, I would never start a gym just because I have different standards, I have different goals in my life. But that business, it taught me so much that I'm so grateful for it.
So, do you have anything like? Do you have your hands in anything in health and fitness, and as far
No.
as business goes?
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
Wow. So, what are you doing right now then?
As far as business is concerned,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have a residential cleaning business that is like our active income business, and then we have our real estate business, which technically is our passive portfolio business, but it's we actively manage a lot of our properties, so it's very active as well. So those are kind of
Gotcha.
the two verticals that we're currently in.
Gotcha. So, what was the next business you started right after the gym business?
So we started getting into real estate. So we started the fitness business in 2013, and then we didn't buy our very first investment property till 2019.
Okay.
So we did, 5-6 years of just fitness business, and we finally made enough money to sort of just stack cash, and we got into investment real estate the old-fashioned traditional way, as boring as you possibly could. We found on-market properties. We put 20-25% down, and we got single-digit cash-on-cash returns.
Gotcha.
Okay? But we were sitting on a couple $100,000 in cash, and so that's when we bought our first couple properties, and that was our first introduction into the real estate game.
So, where is that at today then? Like, how many properties are we talking about, or is it Airbnb rentals? Like,
Yep.
tell me about the real estate business.
Yeah, so from there, we learned real quickly that although we were making good money, we weren't making the kind of money that we needed to make in order for us to invest in as much real estate as we wanted to invest in. So we got we started looking for coaching and mentorship in the real estate game of like, how do we actually acquire properties more efficiently, more proactively? And so we invested with a mentor named Chris Crone. We kind of learned his strategy of how he buys a property almost every single day, and that's by using partnerships. Like that was cool, and we ended up paying him 6 figures to learn his system, be part of his mentorship, and then last year I ended up joining Pace Morby's Sub2 group, which you're in as well, and learned about creative finance and not only how to partner with people on the equity standpoint, but how to actually get into deals more creatively, right? So right now we just closed on our biggest property a couple weeks ago, which is a 7-plex. And so right now we have 40 rental doors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
40. That's
40.
impressive, bro.
And 16 of those are long-term, or excuse me, 16 of those are short-term rentals, and the rest of them are long-term rentals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with the real estate, how big are you trying to get with that? Like, do you plan on always just owning and buying real estate?
That's our game, yeah. So that's our equity play is we want to buy and hold real estate. Like that's what we see as being our best path to growing our net worth and to growing our financial independence, security, and freedom numbers is through the holding of real estate.
Yeah, and it helps with taxes too, especially if you're an entrepreneur,
And it
right?
helps with taxes, yeah.
Get the cost seg those properties.
We legitimately just cost segged one of our properties that we were supposed to owe like a little over $40,000 in taxes, and we cost segged one property, wiped it all out. We ended up getting a refund because we cost segged one property.
It's the biggest secret in entrepreneurship in real estate.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't even know about the cost seg opportunities, and
we paid
that's why
$3,000.
ownership is so important.
We paid $3,000 for a cost seg to save us $40,000. Like
And
it was pretty
worth
good.
every dollar, wasn't it?
Every single penny.
Wow. So, real estate now. You mentioned cleaning business. When did you launch the cleaning business?
We launched a cleaning business October of 2020, and we did that with the guidance of Chris Crone.
Okay. What made you choose cleaning?
Yeah, so part of his mentorship, he taught us his business standards, right? And so some of his business standards were that at the business. So he's got, I think there are 5 business standards. I can't quite remember all of them on top of my head, but the first one being that the business is simple, right? Which means it's easy. It's simple. It's easy to understand. You can have abundance of leads, so there's plenty of leads. It's easy to delegate. It's got high profit margins, and the passion is for the customers, not for the entrepreneur, right? Which is the biggest mistake I made in the fitness industry, was that I was passionate about fitness, but our clients or customers in the fitness industry, are they passionate about fitness? People who you're training are not, right?
Dude, I've never heard that. You said passionate about the customer?
So
the customer's passionate about the
the
business.
customer's passionate about the business, right? Because they're the ones who ultimately feed the business. So like in the fitness industry, for example, like it is hard to sell someone on personal training. It's hard to sell someone on a life transformation program. Not so much that the result isn't amazing. Like changing your life is amazing, but it's the effort required is really, really high.
The workouts suck.
The likelihood of achievement is really, really low. The duration of time in order to achieve that result is very, very long. So the only thing you have going in fitness is that the desired outcome is like, it really is life-changing.
Yeah.
But the other 3 things suck. Right? And so when you understand that, it makes fitness a hard sell.
Yeah.
Right? And so we took it the other way around, and it's like, how do we get as many of these things on our side as we possibly can to make the sale to the client really, really easy. Okay? And so based on that, and based on our skill sets as well, we came down to a list of, we put all these businesses that my wife and I like, that we wanted to, that we were also interested in, on a piece of paper, and then we started crossing them off based on like these standards. Like, do they meet this standard? No. And then we crossed off probably, I think 7 of the 10 businesses that we put on this piece of paper. We crossed 7 of them off because they just didn't meet these standards. And the last 3 were a cleaning business, an arbitrage business, and then a basically like an agency business. Like we would teach people how to run their Facebook ads, right? And so based on those 3, we started doing pros and cons. And we didn't really want to do arbitrage because our goal wasn't necessarily like, we liked real estate. We wanted to own real estate. We didn't want to just have an active business.
Yeah.
And then the agency thing was like, I didn't really like want to deal with the customers, and I didn't really think that it was something that I really wanted at the time. And so I was like, cleaning business, awesome. Like I have no emotional connection to cleaning whatsoever. Like I've never cleaned my entire life. My wife's never like cleaned, but I was like, I like the business from the standpoint of like it's a done for you service, right? And so that's how we picked it. And we launched in October of 2020, and we used the principles and everything that we had learned from the fitness business to launch that. And the only difference was that instead of us selling a done with you service where we help people lose weight, we did a done for you service where we clean their houses.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so we understood marketing and sales at a relatively high level, but we had no fulfillment experience whatsoever. So like my wife was the one who actually had to learn how to clean, right? And she spent the first 30 days learning how to clean and making a lot of mistakes. Like we had clients who we served in those first 30 days where we just did it for free, basically. Like we ended up refunding their money because we weren't very good at it, right? And so she did an amazing job.
So you guys ruined it yourself starting out.
Yeah, so like I did the selling to start out, I did the marketing and sales, and my wife did the fulfillment. It's like she actually went out and cleaned. And then we ended up hiring, so we had a nanny. We ended up moving her from a nanny to our first cleaner within the first 30 days, and that's how we kind of started the business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What market were you in when you launched that?
So we were in our local market, which was in Bozeman, Montana. Yeah.
You took this idea and started this in Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
How many people live out there?
It's a small town. It's like the town is like 50,000. The valley is 100,000 people. So it's a pretty small town.
And it's been successful.
It's crushing it. It's doing really, really well.
So
Yeah.
just imagine if you were to bring it out to an area like Phoenix,
Yeah.
the number of opportunities. It's like, wow. So you took that in a small town and you blew it up.
Yeah.
What kind of numbers are you guys currently doing in that?
So for the last 3 months, we've been hovering around $50,000 a month in revenue, and it runs about a 25% profit margin, and that's fully outsourced. Like I don't literally spend an hour a week, and that's me and Katie and two of our top employees. Like we just do like a visionary meetings, that we call it, where we talk about our numbers and we talk about the vision of the company. And so that's the only time I spend with it. My wife, she is doing the recruiting, so she's the one who's hiring and onboarding our what we call them our Sparkle bosses, and then she's also doing like daily meetings, like daily huddles with our team as well. So she probably spends 10 hours a week on that business. So yeah, I mean it's a cool business for sure.
So you guys started that business as pretty much owner operators,
Yeah,
and then now you're pretty much owner investors to where
yeah.
it's like you said, you only spend about an hour a week in that business. When you first started, like how long did you have to be the owner operators for?
Yep. So we had this plan. So this was part of Chris's plan that he taught us was a 4-step launch sequence. So the first 30 days was us just testing it to make sure that number one, that we could actually do the business, that we had the skills to do the business, and we actually wanted to do the business. So after that first 30 days, like we set a goal of I think $7,000 of revenue that we wanted to hit that month. It was like this is like our test to see if we wanted to continue the business, right? I think we only did like $4,500, but I was I like it. Like I think that we can actually do this,
Yeah.
right? So even though we were short of our artificial goal that we hit, I got enough traction and enough belief in the business. I was like, we could actually do this.
Yeah.
So that was the first 30 days. The next 30 days, we actually, so that was end of October. So beginning in November, we actually had a trip planned to Texas that December, where we were going to go down for the whole month. We're actually going to go down and hang out with the Hormozis for the whole month of December. So within that first 30 days, Katie outsourced the cleaning to our nanny, and then she moved into the sales role, so I moved me out of it. I sold the fitness business, and so I went to really not being in the cleaning business at that point right away. And so our whole plan was to scale this out right away because we had other businesses already going on, and we were already in real estate at that point as well. So our whole plan was just to get this thing up and going and to offload it as quickly as possible. And so Katie, while she was doing her first 30 days of cleaning, she was also developing SOPs. I was developing SOPs for the marketing and sales. And so after those first 30 days, I taught Katie how to sell, right? The marketing, I kept the marketing because it was relatively low amount of time. And then Katie taught our nanny how to actually clean. And so that's how we started developing the SOPs. And then from there, it was just a matter of slowly starting to build our team. So then we went from one cleaners to hiring more cleaners, and yeah. So
How hard has that been to find good labor? Because ever since the pandemic has happened,
Yeah.
like businesses are just sinking and struggling
yeah,
because they can't find good labor. So what has that challenge been like?
the labor market for the cleaning is definitely the challenge in the business. That's our challenge anyway. And we've been learning how to hire and learn how to fire cleaners, because ultimately our weakest leg in that stool, and it's really like a stool for the cleaning business, is our fulfillment. So like we're actually not product experts. So it's been hard for us to know like what a good cleaner looks like, not just from a standpoint of skill sets, but also like what character traits do they have. And that's the thing that we started now that we're really honing in on, is that now we understand what a good cleaner looks like from a skill set standpoint. Now the next thing that we're looking at when we're onboarding or when we bring on new Sparkle bosses, new cleaning technicians, is character traits, right? We want people to be consistent. We want them to be reliable. We want them to be service-based. And so these are the things that we are actively looking for when we're hiring people. So now we can actually have somebody who we can continue to grow with and build a culture with, rather than having this revolving door.
Right.
So I think there's always challenges, and you just got to understand like where you're, like ultimately us as entrepreneurs, like we take responsibility. So it's not necessarily the market. Like some markets are definitely better than others, but like how do we get better at hiring? How do we get better on onboarding? How do we get better at creating a culture? How do we create a better environment that someone's like, I want to work for you, right? I want to work for your cleaning company. So yeah, but the market's definitely been the biggest challenge of that business.
But you guys figured it out, so
Yeah.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a mentor for this business too?
So my wife actually invested in a gal named Debbie Sardone, and yeah, so we have a cleaning business mentor as well.
I think that's like the common denominator for a lot of people that when they open a business or they're successful in business is having
Yeah.
a good mentor.
Always.
It's so crucial. So you mentioned you got your wife Katie involved in on this.
Yeah.
At what point did you get her involved into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So when we first got together, she was not part of the business. So we actually got together in 2014. So like 4 months after I started my gym, that's when we actually met. She was a office manager at a dentist office, and I was just a solopreneur working at a gym. And it wasn't until 2018 where she actually quit her job and came full time and worked with me. And what it took was me marrying her. And honestly, her just seeing this opportunity, like she saw me struggling, because she was there from, again, basically day one. So she saw me beat my head against the wall. She saw me struggling, and then she was there when I blew up, when I joined Alex's program, right? So she saw me go from like no result to all of a sudden it looked like I got successful overnight, right? But she actually saw all the shit in between, all the
Yeah.
struggles and all the early mornings, late nights, the weekends that I worked. And so when it finally took off, she actually came to a mastermind with me. She came to Alex's first mastermind. There's only like 38 of us at this first mastermind. And so it was her first experience in being part of one of these events. And it was mine too as well. And I think Alex sold her on like joining the business, because him and Layla were working together, and he's like, you guys would crush if you guys worked together, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like August of 2017. Then we went to that mastermind, and then by the end of the year, we had made the decision, and then she actually quit her job and started working with me right at the beginning of 2018.
Nice, man. That's
Yeah.
so. I'm married. My wife, we've kind of found that work-life balance. We got 3 kids,
Yeah.
and there's been so many times I've tried to pull her into the business,
Yeah.
but she still had the responsibilities of like being the focal point of taking care of the kids because I was running the show and the business.
Yeah.
And we've always had that struggle with finding that work-life balance, right? It wasn't until probably beginning of last year when I finally realized like it's unfair of me to ask her to come be a part of the business
Yeah.
when she has all these responsibilities. So it's pretty impressive to hear like how you guys have been able to partner up
Yeah.
and start a business together, and like you've got her involved in entrepreneurship. But how did you guys find the work-life balance? Because you guys have kids, right?
Yeah.
And so what were the challenges with finding the work-life balance? Like, did she give pushback at first? Like, were there obstacles you guys had to face?
Yeah. I think that's always like the biggest question that I honestly get from married entrepreneurs. Is like, how do you thrive in the business? Or even the wife is like, how does Katie do it, right? And like full transparency, I always made it her decision. Like I never like
Yeah.
I just presented the options. Like here's what it could be, but I never pressured her. I never truly asked her, right? I put her in situations where she got influenced, right? But either way, I was okay with her being in the business or not being in the business. I was like, either you can be in the business or like I'll hire somebody, right?
Yeah.
But I always made it her decision. And so when she initially did it, yeah, it was her decision, right? And so for the first, so that was like what, 2018. So we had our youngest in 2019. So she was in the business for probably like a year and a half before our youngest was born. And then when our youngest was born, like she actually was back out of the business again. And so
wow.
I hired somebody to take over her stuff, and she was a mom, and she did that for probably like 5 or 6 months. And she just wanted to get back in the business. Like she wanted to get back in the business, right? It wasn't me like, hey, come back in the business, but she didn't get as much fulfillment as she thought she was going to get from being a stay-at-home mom. She actually made that decision, like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm going to do this thing. But she didn't get as much fulfillment by doing that as she got from the business. So then at that moment, she's like, okay, I want to get back in the business. So then we made steps to get back in the business. And a lot of that was like, how do we take care of her responsibilities at home? And so we ended up hiring nannies, right? So we have nannies, we have personal assistants, we basically, have people who take care of the home front for us, who help us with the kids, so she can be in the business, right? But she also has the choice that like today, for example, like she gets to hang out with the kids if she wants to, right? So she gets to do the things that she wants to do, and she gets to be mom when she wants to, not because she has to. And I think that's really powerful, and the thing that I really love to watch her and see her to do is like actually have that freedom to like go be the CEO, go fire somebody, go hire somebody, go give the team a pep talk. At the same time, she gets to go take, our oldest daughter to school or to swim practice, and she gets to hang out with our youngest daughter, and she gets to like choose. I think ultimately that's what we really want, is we want the freedom to be able to kind of float between both. And all the people we have helping us, like they understand like what, because I actually do a lot of the hiring for the people who help Katie out, because I want there to be like a degree of separation. And I actually tell them, I was like, your job is actually to just help Katie and to take things off her plate. And so sometimes she's going to want to take the kids to school, and so you need to like step in and do other things, right? Or sometimes she doesn't want to take the kids to school. You take the kids to school because she's got work meetings. She's got things that only she can do. I think it's just setting the right expectation.
So you guys found that healthy balance, and you guys found out what worked. Like, she drank the entrepreneur juice once you got her in the room, and you left it to be her decision.
Yeah, I sold her, right? I sold her by letting her be her decision. I think that's what the greatest salespeople do, is like, is influencing people based on what their goals are rather than your own goals. I think that's what most entrepreneurs have it wrong, is that they want to do it because it'll help them out. But is it really in their spouse's best interest?
Right.
Is what they want.
That is so important, man.
Yeah.
That's very important. So, to touch on that, right? You put a video out the other day stating how your wife getting married, along those lines, getting married has made you, I think, along like $200,000, something like that.
Yeah.
Elaborate on it.
Best business decision ever.
I need help understanding. Please enlighten me.
It was another insight from Alex, right? Me and Alex are sitting on a Zoom call, and he just asked me, he's like, "Are you gonna marry Katie?" And this is about 4 years into us dating. I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, everything's going good right now. We're making some money, but why would I change it?" And he's like, "Logan, like, you will make more money if you marry her." I was like, "Why?" Right? He's like, the commitment level that you will get from your wife will far outweigh what you're doing right now, because right now, like, you guys are just dating and you have this business. She has her own thing. Like, you guys have two separate lives.
Yep.
When you decide to make this commitment together and you guys can share bank accounts, you share money, like, there's an attention that goes away from like, is this really something that's like here for a short time, or is this here for a long time? And he always encouraged me to get Katie in the business anyway. He's like, you'll make so much more money if you get her in the business as well. And part of that was marrying her to get her in the business. And so it was probably a half-hour Zoom call. He's like, he just convinced me. And so not even like a week later, I proposed to her, and a week after that, we got married.
Wow.
In our living room. It was just me, our oldest daughter, her, and the ordainer.
Wow. It happened that fast after that conversation.
Just that fast.
So what has that done for you financially? Like, it's...
Yeah. So again, it's not like a direct ROI, but it's like, it's the idea of it, right? And so again, I think it was a lot of it just had to do with timing as well. But so that was January of 2018, and by the end of January, we had put our first $100,000 in the bank account, and then by the end of that year, we had put $200,000 in our bank account. And again, I think a lot of it was timing, but a lot of it also was that Katie was also in the business, so she started selling at that point. So I taught her how to sell, and she sold, and I was still hustling, I was still working as well. I was doing sales, and so we were just able to blow our income up really, really fast because we were both. So instead of just having one good salesperson, now we had two good salespeople who were very convicted on the product, and we had. Our goals were aligned, right? And we threw the third thing in there of, I told her that if we put $100,000 in the bank, we could have another kid. And that got her all excited. So that was, again, it's just like, how do you make it in someone's best interest to work for you? How do you get them excited? And like, I try to have paired goals. And so those are like little things I've done along the way to make it fun and make it exciting, make it a game. And so ultimately, is $100,000 cool? Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't actually change your life, but it's the journey, it's the story that gets you there, it's the accomplishment, it's the feeling of like, I can do this. Like, that's the real skill. That's the real thing that will allow you to get to $200,000. It'll get you to $1 million. Whatever it is that like someone's goals are. Yeah.
So I mean, the biggest thing is like the commitment, right?
The commitment. That's really it.
A lot of us men, especially when we're single, we spend so much time chasing ass.
Yeah.
right? And we're
Yeah.
spending all this money on dates and trying to fine dine these women, impress all these women, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at most successful men, they're married.
Yeah.
And they got a strong partner behind them. And so when you made that video, I was like, that shit is so true.
Yeah.
Because I'm married. I'm
Yeah.
experiencing that.
Yeah.
If I was still single, I mean, with the amount of money we've been able to make these last couple of years, one, I wouldn't have made that because I wouldn't have had that support.
Yeah.
Two, I'd be probably spending on stupid shit trying to impress women.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's such an important thing, man. One thing I want to touch on, man, and this is something that I've been talking with some entrepreneurs: health and diet,
Yeah.
right? Or diet and fitness. I think this is something that's not talked about enough amongst entrepreneurs, right? I
Yeah.
think a lot of entrepreneurs are some of the most unhealthiest people on the planet, and it's not intentional. It's more of they're so focused on the business and the task at hand that they neglect themselves. They put
Yeah.
themselves last, right? And so I'm on my health and wellness journey.
Yeah.
I'm down 20 pounds. I started a couple of months ago,
It's awesome.
and I've been eating so much cleaner.
Yeah.
I was telling Keston a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, because Keston's into health and fitness.
Yeah.
And it's motivating to see people like him, people like yourself, that take care of your bodies, take it serious.
Yeah.
And what it's done for me is it's brought so much mental clarity, right? And it's given me so much focus and desire. Like, I wouldn't be able to do things like this when I'm unhealthy because my anxiety level's high. I'm not going to feel right. My mind's going to be all cloudy. I'm not going to be able to focus. And so it's so important that this conversation is brought to the public and is talked about, because I don't think people understand the importance of diet and exercise,
Yeah.
right? How often do you work out per week, and like how important is your diet
Yeah.
in your performance?
I think like to kind of touch on a little bit about why people don't think it's important is because they never had it, they never experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same thing that you try to explain to somebody how valuable it is to have $1 million in cash or to have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of income that comes in whether you work or not. Like until you experience it, you don't actually understand. You don't feel it.
So
Like,
true.
You really don't know. And so health and fitness is very much the same thing. Is unless you've actually experienced what it feels like to feel good and to have the clarity, to have all the benefits that come with it, you actually have to experience it.
Yep.
And so most people just don't I've never experienced it, or it's been so long ago since they've experienced it that they forgot, and so they don't understand the value of it, right? And so when it comes to like what I do, I don't know if like what I share, like if I share what I do is that valuable, because again, like my experience will be different than yours is, and anybody who's listening. But I find that the more I pair fitness with like what I'm doing at the gym or what I'm eating with business, I find it to be even more rewarding, right? So it's not just about getting stronger or looking a certain way in the mirror or losing a certain amount of weight, but if I pair that with like, I think this is going to make me more money because I'll be better on camera, I'll look better, people will look at me, and like I'll be able to get more deals because I don't have to overcome a negative like first impression, right? Or I just have confidence. I walk into the room that I'm gonna be the jacked guy, so like I ultimately have some credibility just by being that person, right? Yep. Like I have so many different ways that I've told myself that this is beneficial to help me make more money, right? So I think understanding like that, and you give yourself like an irresistible offer of like why you should work out, and it goes further than just trying to change your body, because ultimately like abs is not gonna make you happy. Weighing a certain number on the scale will never make you happy. It's the journey, the fulfillment that comes with it, and the accomplishment that makes you happy. But it's actually not what makes it stick, right? What makes it stick is that you pair that with something that is like something that's growing. It's almost like equity, right? So how does the equity that you have in your body, how do you pair that to like when you're looking at your life at 85 years old? Like how does that benefit you today to be in shape, right? And you actually can pair that. Then all of a sudden it makes more sense for you to show up to the gym even when maybe you don't feel like it, or maybe when it's inconvenient, but you know that if you do, it's going to put you in a position where when you're 85, you're looking at your deathbed, you're glad you did it.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's gonna in 6 months it's gonna put you in a better position that you're going to be in a meeting and you're going to be able to close a $10 million real estate deal because of how you feel, because you have the clarity, because you have confidence, because of the way you articulate, because of the way that you got a connection at the gym from this guy who got you this real estate deal. Like, there's so many different ways that you can like sell yourself on just going to the gym outside of the conventional ways people think about it. It's like, I want to look better, I want to feel better, I want to have clarity, right? Like, those are great things, but how do you sell yourself on the next level?
Right.
That's what keeps you going.
Absolutely, man. That's a very good point. So, what do you exercise regularly?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've done some crazy things, man. You keep in mind, like, I've been doing this since I'm 16 years old, so it's almost, I'm 34, so 18 years I've been lifting consistently. So I've done some crazy things. In 2019 to 2021, I lifted every single day for 961 days. Like 961 days in a row, I went to the gym and worked out.
Holy shit.
That was during COVID. And so I had a gym, right? So I could do that. Most people couldn't do that. So yeah, I mean, I've gone through phases where I lifted 7 days a week for years. I've also lifted twice a week. I did that for years as well. And now I look forward to going to the gym that I lift 6-7 days a week.
Wow. So you're still pretty much like a gym rat. You still go constantly.
I go, right? And I go now because what I've paired where I am currently is I listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks. I listen to courses when I go to the gym. Like, that's what I do when I work out. Like, I don't listen to music anymore. And so I'm listening to Alex, I'm listening to Pace, I'm listening to the people who, like, Kid McElroy, whoever I'm trying to learn, like, I'll do that while I'm working out. So I think of it as cheating. So, like, instead of me having to go spend time on learning, I'm at the gym and I'm growing my body, but also growing my mind.
Dude.
Right? So that's how I kind of like trick myself. That's why I look like that's my time to go like consume information. And at the same time, I'm actually getting stronger, and I'm working my body almost as an afterthought, right?
Yeah, that's such a gem right there. It's like a lot of people don't understand it. It's like the same time you're working on your body, you could still be educating yourself on whatever it is that you want to learn. I do that now as well. It's like that's powerful.
Especially for entrepreneurs, when you're so busy, you have so much stuff going on. Like, you have teams to run, you have clients to talk to, you have vendors to communicate with. That it can become difficult for you to continue to find time to grow your knowledge. But if you just pair your knowledge with your gym time, all of a sudden you make something that was inconvenient to do them separately together. It makes it an asset that kind of tips over to the like, okay, this is silly for me not to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
How is your diet? I know there's a lot of guys that go to the gym, but they'll still eat the fast food and eat the bad shit.
Yeah.
How, like, what does your diet look like now?
Yeah. So, again, just to put in context, like, I'm doing this for a long time. I've been tracking every single thing I put in my body since 2018. I have it on my phone. I literally, like, I can show you what I ate. I can show you how many calories, my protein, fats, and carbs I've eaten since 2018.
Wow.
Right? So just to put a little bit in perspective, I know my numbers. I know my data. And I think that's the thing that I would share with you, and I would share with anybody who's listening, is that it doesn't matter what I eat, but, like, what do you eat, right? And if I were to, like, people always ask me questions about fitness or ask me questions about nutrition, I honestly can't give you good answers because you don't have data. Like, tell me what you've been eating last week. Like, what'd you eat today? I don't know. What'd you eat yesterday? I don't know. I can't help you, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you did. What's your baseline? Based on your numbers, I can help you. Think about if you asked somebody to help you with your business, and you couldn't tell what your revenues were. You couldn't tell what your cost per lead is. You couldn't tell them any of your numbers that are important for you to get into coaching on. Like, how are they going to help you?
Right.
So if you want help, you have to do the work on the back end, and that work is honestly just like starting by tracking data, right? And so some of the simplest numbers that AMA can track, I'm not saying that it's easy, but they're simple, right? And that's tracking what you put in your mouth, right? So your proteins and calories, if you just start with those two things, like, you don't have to worry about carbs and fats. Like, if you just track protein and calories, that will get you, honestly, 99% of the way there. That's it. Tracking body weight, tracking your movement. So activity, steps. If you wear like a Fitbit or your phone has like a stepometer, or a pedometer, you track your activity. Those are really, and the amount of sleep you get. If you just start with those things and you just do that consistently every single day, just by tracking it, your awareness becomes really higher and you'll improve them. And then if you do that for a longer period of time, then you can start to say, okay, I want to lose some weight. Well, you're eating, 200 grams of protein and you're eating 2,500 calories, and you've been doing that for the last 3 weeks, and your body weight hasn't moved. Well, then drop your calories, right?
Yeah.
It really becomes that simple, right? And then you drop your calories to whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you see your body weight start to go down.
Yeah.
It becomes really simple, right? You're like, oh man, I'm kind of feeling like shit. You look at your sleep and you see that you've been sleeping 4 or 5 hours. Like, no wonder I don't feel very good. No wonder I feel lethargic. No wonder I'm not making progress anymore. Is because like I'm not sleeping very well.
Right. Yeah, man.
Right? Or your activity is so low. It's like you track your steps. You're getting a couple thousand steps a day, right? Transition that to like now you're getting 10,000 steps a day. You're getting 50,000 steps a day. And like, man, like I'm eating the same amount of calories, but now my activity went up. And I'm losing weight again. It's weird how that works.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if you just have data to track, you make better decisions rather than like, I feel like I'm not losing weight, or I feel like I'm not making progress. I don't care what you feel like, show me the numbers.
What percentage would you say diet is in regards to like the results and losing weight and just performance overall?
Yeah, so if you just understand biology in general, again, if you're trying to lose weight, it's like the simple equation is how much energy do you burn, which calories is just like all calories are energy, right? That's what it breaks out to. Is calories are a different form of energy. And the more calories you expend, or if you expend more calories than you consume, your body will be in a deficit, which will have it lose tissue, right? And I say tissue specifically because you don't just lose fat, like you could lose muscle. That's why it's important also to eat protein. That's why it's important to do resistance training. So just because you lose 20 pounds, like it's great, but how much of that 20 pounds was actually fat? How much of that 20 pounds was actually muscle? How much of it was just water weight, right? So that's where we can start to dive in a little bit to it, and now we can start to optimize the weight we're losing. Because losing weight is just weight. Like if you lost 20 pounds of muscle, who cares? Like then you're just gonna be like a skinnier, fat version of yourself, which nobody wants that, right? So that's why it's important. It's like that. Like I say, okay, you lost 20 pounds, but you were only eating 100 grams of protein, and you weigh 200 pounds. Let's say, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like you're definitely losing muscle, right? If you were losing weight and you were eating 250 grams of protein, then I would know that the chance of you losing muscle is you're minimizing your chance of losing muscle, and you're maximizing your chance of losing fat and any of the excess water and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So. So that's.
So diet's a big portion.
Diet, yeah, it's all interchangeable. It's very much like you ask that same question of like, well, what's the most important piece on a car, right? Well, they're all important if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, like we look at a car, and we think about the engines, we think about wheels, we think about transmissions, and so like those are the big things, diet and exercise are those big pieces of the car, but everything else matters too.
Right.
Because even like one flat tire is going to keep you off the road.
Yeah, that's very true, man. So, dude, it's December 2022. We're about to enter a whole new year, man.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with businesses, the economy? I mean, we got all this inflation going on. People are scared to buy. Like, what is your perspective on what real estate and business is going to look like over the next couple of years?
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited because number one, I do not know. I never have been in business during a recession, right? I missed the recession in my business journey. I went through it as like a college kid, but so I'm really looking at this from a standpoint like I'm excited to learn, and that's what I've been doing. I've been talking to people who've been in business for a long time, whether it's been real estate, whether it's been other industries. I'm just trying to hear what they think and their perspectives. And one of the greatest things that I heard one entrepreneur say is that I'm blanking what he said here, but history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? And so the same reason why the real estate economy, if it crashes in 2023, it's not going to be the same reason why it crashed in 2007, 2008, right? But it'll rhyme. So a lot of the issues that sellers had, or a lot of issues that banks had, or people had, they're going to be similar, but they're not going to be exactly the same. So you need to understand what happened in previous recessions, why things happen, how people responded, how people reacted, so you can look for those opportunities. And as far as real estate goes, I mean, we're experiencing it's definitely softening. Will it crash? Who knows, right? But be prepared for it to crash or be prepared for it to continue to go up, right? But either way, as long as you're prepared, you can continue to play the game. Because ultimately, the people who are in the game right now are going to be the ones who can make the moves the quickest. And that's the value of being in the game, is that when you're in the game, you can see the opportunity, you can take it right away. Whereas other people who are out of the game, they have to like create a business. They have to get momentum going before they can even see the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so that's the value of just like being in the game, right? Businesses, again, if the stock market crashes, jobs go down. I think businesses like our cleaning business is going to be great because it's going to like take it where it's harder to get cleaners, because right now in the job market there's like a 2-to-1 ratio of there's let's say there's 200 jobs and there's only 100 people looking for jobs. Well, that makes it the people who have jobs out there, makes it harder for them, because these 100 people who have jobs or who are looking for jobs, they have a choice of 200, right? So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. But as the job market starts to shrink, we make that more of a 1-to-1 option. Now, as an employer, you have you have more leverage, and so you can choose how much you pay people. You can have better terms, better concessions that are more business related, rather than like right now you have to like it's hard to get employees, and so what you got to do is you got to like do signing bonuses. You have to basically cater to people who maybe aren't even as deserving as they should be to get these positions, right?
So you get to be more picky in a recession.
Yeah, you get to have the table turned very much how in the real estate market it's been a seller's market, and now it's transitioned to a buyer's market.
Yep.
It's the same thing in the job industry. It's been very much like a employee's market. Now it's going to start to turn more into an employer's market. And so those are the things I'm looking for. And so but then if it does crash that way too, then it makes your sales process harder, right? Because now you have clients who are getting hit by that as well. So your sales process just has to be better. You have to make sure that you understand how to sell. But ultimately, like if you have the skill to sell, it will make you stand out in recessionary times, because that's when those skills are necessary, is when you have to sell. It's not just selling clients, it's also selling employees and selling staff. So we talked about is like culture, like that's selling. Keeping people to stay, like that's selling. So I think if you learn the skill set of sales, it will keep you thriving regardless of whatever the economy does.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people sleep on that too, is like sales, that's the number one skill set that you need as an entrepreneur.
It is.
I mean, entrepreneurship is all sales and marketing, and I would personally say that the most important thing that a business owner needs in their business, depending on the business, is talent.
Yeah.
And so this recession is going to be a good time for a lot of people to crush it, rebuild, and find awesome talent, because there's going to be some damn good talent out there in this recession, man. It's coming. I mean, we're already starting to see it with the layoffs. There's going to be so many talented people out there just looking for opportunities, and the good entrepreneurs are going to find that talent, rebuild their team or build their new team, and take full advantage of that. And so we're entering like uncertain times, but it's kind of like you said, I don't know what the hell is going to happen.
No idea.
I don't think anyone knows. I mean, we've got inflation, interest rates are crazy, real estate market is crazy. I think there's a lot of fluff out there. There's not a whole lot of transparency. And I think that's what we need. And you're going to really see who the true players are over the next couple of years, in my opinion. So, yeah, man, there's going to be some interesting times. So, what is next for Logan?
Yeah. It's funny. It's like what the majority of my days, the questions I ask myself on a daily basis is that right there. Like, what's next for Logan? What's next for my family? What's next for like my moves? And I'm
because you've accomplished some impressive things, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm being patient right now, to be honest with you. Like, I have with the real estate thing that's going, but again, at that point, we don't have a wholesale business, we don't have a flip business, so everything is like buy and hold. So at that point, it's just managing properties, which, depending on what's going on, isn't that time. Like, I don't manage anything actually, so my wife does that. And a cleaning business, my wife is the one she's the one who's in charge of that. So like my day-to-day stuff is, I don't have much going on right now. intentionally. I'm being very patient on like what's the opportunity to go down. I'm trying to.
But you've earned that right. You put yourself in that position. That's an
trying to
awesome
forecast.
position to be in.
Yeah. And it's just our rules within our companies. Like I'm the visionary. I'm the one who thinks. I'm the one who's got the idea. I'm the one who's supposed to know like what's going to happen next. And so I'm trying to keep myself from being distracted. I'm trying to keep myself out of creating shiny objects and like starting new businesses. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm practicing my entrepreneurial patience.
Yeah, dude.
And I believe that there is going to be great opportunities that are going to come up in the next couple years with the like whatever the market does, right? And we'll definitely continue real estate because real estate has been something that's really transformed our lives, and we'll continue business, continue active business, and at that. But outside of that, I'm just being really patient. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, listen, dude, I think this is a good place to stop the conversation. You gave some good gems, and it was a very interesting conversation to have with you. I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah.
Guys, please like, share, subscribe, comment your favorite part about this whole interview. Logan, how can they find you, man?
Yeah. Find me on Instagram at Logan Manzanares or YouTube at Logan Manzanares. Those are the best two places to find me.
Last thing I do like to ask before we go, do you have any final thoughts? Anything?
No, I just appreciate you for having me on, and I appreciate everything that you're doing with like interviewing entrepreneurs and spreading that message. And I think that really what it comes down to is like we will all be successful. People are watching this are most likely entrepreneurs or looking to be entrepreneurs. That like we as a community to come together and think about
100%.
this as collaboration rather than competition. And I think that's one thing that held me back for so long was I always think about competitiveness. Like I couldn't ask other gyms for help. And then now, like some of my best friends are gym owners, right?
Yeah.
Real estate is like it's all about collaboration. So, like reach out to Justin, reach out to me, like make connections, make friends inside this game. And the more that you are vulnerable, and you say like, here's my problems, like here's what I'm facing, like we're willing to help, right? And whether we know the answers or whether we're just someone who can be a sounding board, like we need to come together as entrepreneurs because we're the ones who are going to change the world. And so like. The economy is going to crash because the government's going to make it crash, right? Like they're literally crashing the economy right now.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurs, like it's our job to figure out how to solve the problem and try to do as much as we possibly can and not let the government control our lives.
1,000%. I couldn't have said it any better, guys.
Yeah.
You guys know how to find them. I appreciate you guys tuning into this. Until next time, I will see you guys on the next episode. See ya.